Hello everybody, Darko3 here. So, as a quick warning before we get off into the video in general, this rant will have, and I'm going to try and tone it down as best I can, but this rant will have spoilers for Resident Evil 7. So if you don't mind having spoilers, or you've seen my streams, or you've played Resident Evil 7 in general, then carry on. But otherwise, if you do intend on playing Resident Evil 7 and don't want anything spoiled for you, I do recommend you hold off watching this and wait until you've played it or whatever, and then watch this, if you remember, to for the rant. So, now that's out of the way, let's get on with talking about Resident Evil 7. Alright, so now that those of you who don't mind spoilers and stuff are still here, and those of you who don't want spoilers have gone, you can hear this. Goodbye. Nah. I'm gonna be ranting about Resident Evil 7 a bit. Now, Resident Evil 7 was honestly up to a certain point, I would say the Resident Evil 7 is one of the best Resident Evils that has ever come about. The change that they've gone into now for first person really adds to it. I'm gonna be honest, it's really good. Now, I know that a lot of you think the rant videos are just negatives, but I can do positives in these as well. They're just ranting about things in general. But Resident Evil 7, like, the first 3/4 of it, about 3/4 of it, are amazing. Pure gold in terms of, like, if we were to take that and then if we were to change the ending a bit, honestly think Resident Evil 7 could be a Game of the Year contender, hands down, because it's got the atmosphere, it's got the gameplay, it's got the feel of old Resident Evils. I mean, I think Resident Evil lost something after Resident Evil 4. 4, 5, and 6. I never played 6. I got fed up with 5 because of Sheva being useless. But they all followed the same archetype that 4 brought in, of the over-shoulder view, more shooting things and less being worried about everything. And Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, and 3 were a bit more, you have to pick your fights, you're not going to have ammo all the time, and Resident Evil 7 kind of goes back to that up to a point where you're not going to have enough ammo. I mean, having to fighting Jack, it took me, I think, 4 attempts before I finally figured out properly how to do it, and then I did it. And I'm going to be honest, I feel I cheesed that fight, just because it turns out if you thrust using the chainsaw, you auto-parry his attacks. So, whether that's a bug or whether I got really lucky in where I got him to position himself when I was attacking him, I don't know. But and the Marguerite fight as well, I can't help but feel that Marguerite was more of a bullet sponge than Jack was. Jack was unforgiving, but you could do stuff about it. Whereas Marguerite, she felt pretty cheap. If you didn't know that where the bug spawner was, you were kind of boned. You were going to have a hard time fighting her. I mean, it took me 2 attempts to beat her. The first time, I didn't know there was a bug spawner. I thought she was spawning them. And then, turns out, there's a bug spawner, destroy that, and then you're pretty much set. But again, she was a bullet sponge. She was so spongy. It was a very difficult. It was kind of difficult because she was pretty unforgiving and she could stun lock you fairly easily. So, but I mean, those two are pretty interesting fights. But I think a lot of people, well, my viewers especially thinking about this, because I was doing this on a live stream. There's a certain point. I can't talk about it without giving spoilers, any decent spoilers. So I'm gonna just be honest. I'm just gonna say it now. The second time you fight Jack as a boss, where he's just eyes, that's the moment where the steady quality that Resident Evil 7 had, it took a nosedive, in my opinion. You knew that when you were told use the serum, okay, you know you've got 2, and then you've got to choose someone after this fight because you've only got 1 left. Now, I'm not sure what happens if you choose Zoe, because I chose Mia because, you know, I went to save Mia in the first place. I may as well use the serum to save the person I went to go with. And so apparently if you choose Zoe, Mia kills Zoe and you have to fight Mia on the boat anyway, so. But it was at that point it took a nosedive, because the beginning part, fine, you can assume that Mia somehow ended up with Jack and Marguerite and Lucas and that lot in that house. She somehow ended up there, and you ended up going there to try and find out, what happened to Mia because she contacted you. That's fine. The question here is, how the fuck did we not see at any point in up until beating Jack, how did we not see a fucking tanker? It's a huge boat, and it's just there magically, and we didn't see it. We had no idea. That boat is so big, there is literally no excuse for us having not seen that boat at this point in time. And there's also the question of how the hell did it get into the swamps? Like, that is a huge plot hole. And then, spoiler alert for anyone, I've already spoiled a ton again, so I don't need to give spoiler alerts. Playing as Mia at that point, now, it went back to being a bit more tense, because you didn't have any weapons, you didn't have any health, you were kind of having a hard time initially, and then you find Evelyn and you do the video to see what happened to Mia, and you just felt like, really? So you can apparently one of the writers for Resident Evil 7 worked on fear, and you can tell, because there's a certain point where it feels like they weren't quite sure. It's basically the second Jack fight, where it seems they've lost what they wanted to do, or they've got to a certain point and they're like, right, what should we do next? And it feels like they went, well, Fear did this pretty well, maybe we should go with Fear. And it doesn't work in this setting, it doesn't work in this context. The whole girl who's got psychic abilities and is able to implant herself into your mind and screw with you has been done. It's been done enough times by now. And the twist of Evelyn not being a child but being exactly who you thought it was after a certain point, it's not really much of a twist. It's been done before. And if you've played Fear, you know how it goes. And I don't know. There's a certain point in Resident Evil 7 where it goes from being an amazing game with a great setting, with the right pacing, everything just feels right, and it feels like you're getting somewhere. And then after that second Jack fight, it just goes, no, that's as far as we got. We're now doing Fear. And it's just, I don't think that the ending of Resident Evil 7 is as satisfying as the rest as it could have been, and it's not as satisfying anywhere near as the rest of the game. The pacing changes. It turns into a, oh, you haven't got any guns. Oh, you have guns again. Oh no, you don't have guns. Oh, you got guns again. And now you've got tons of ammo. Go nuts. And it completely feels different. Like the mold when they first appear, those black, like moldy creatures. When they first appear, you're like, oh my god, these are crazy, because you've got a pistol and maybe a shotgun, and you're like, these are kind of difficult to deal with. But you get to a certain point where ammo is abundant. You're not going to have much of a problem with ammo. Although there are some points where you're not able from a certain point to go and get your weapons from the box. So if you've put your shotgun in there and whatever other weapon, you're not able to go back and get them. Now, there was a couple of times between the last box and the last boss where I was in dire need of ammo. And the game knows you can't physically get back to a box. And all of the ammo it was dropping, all it was dropping was flamethrower ammo and shotgun ammo, neither of which I was carrying. I had next to no pistol rounds. I had next to no grenade rounds. I had no machine gun rounds. I was dry essentially, and having to fight two big things which are bullet sponges. It was ridiculous, and it just kept giving me ammo that I just couldn't physically use. It was a waste of space. But I know that certain parts it decided what to give you. It's a kind of RNG thing, because a couple boxes I had to go to multiple times, as in a couple crates on the floor which you could smash. I had to get to a couple times because of restarting, and they gave me something completely different. So I'm not keen on that. But I mean, it's a shame, because Resident Evil 7 could have been a Game of the Year contender, but the end, it's so disappointing. The end is really disappointing, and it honestly lets the good 3/4 of the game down. 75%, possibly 80% of the game is remarkably good. Like, it could, as long as the rest of the year is kind of eh. I mean, Resi could be a Game of the Year, but as it stands, I couldn't give it. I would love to give it, but I really couldn't, just because of how it loses its way at the end. And it's a big shame. It really is a shame, because I went from going, I really want to play Resident Evil, I really want to see how this is going, I really want to know how the game progresses, to going, I guess I should finish it. I mean, there are plenty of games in that I've got which would I'd end up doing that way anyway. But it's not a good sign when you go, oh, I really want to play a game, to I'm not that bothered anymore. And Resident Evil is one of those games. If you basically treat the Jack fight as the end of the game, I think you will still be disappointed with how the ending is. Like, if you treat that as the ending, it will still be as disappointing, but you won't have the last 2 hours or so clouding and marring what was an otherwise good game. And that's a sad time for that, I think. But I mean, if you've played Resident Evil 7, if you've played it, and you've got to a certain point and you can see what I mean, excuse me, let me know in the comments below how you felt about the pacing of the game and whether you feel it lost its way. I feel it did, but some people, some of you guys may disagree. If you thought the ending was actually really good and you thought that the beginning was quite weak, let me know. It's interesting to see how people feel about these. And I mean, having people watching my stream and thinking the same way as me isn't necessarily the same as people who've got the same, who's played the same game and come to a different conclusion. So let me know how it feels. If you haven't bought the game and were going to has my video changed your opinion? I want to know. I want to get an idea here, guys, because I thought it was a disappointment, but other people may still feel that they want to carry on with the game. But yes, if you are new to the channel, please do click the subscribe button. We need it always has to have more viewers. Please click the like button if you liked the video, a dislike button if you disliked it, but please let me know why you disliked it, and leave a comment down below, as I said before. Otherwise, guys, have a very good evening, morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you may be, and I will see you all in the next video, which is probably going to be the Resident Evil highlights. Take it easy, guys. Bye bye.